Welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. This podcast is a production of Swaim Strategies, a consulting firm dedicated to nonprofit fundraising events. We're coming to you today from the studios of the AV department. Please welcome our hosts, Kristin Steele and Samantha Swaim.
Well, hello and welcome to the Fundraising Elevator, where we're all headed up. Today we have two of our favorite nerdy fundraisers joining us.
Just embrace it, Clay. It's fine.
We embrace that wholeheartedly because we believe in doing data science-backed research, and you two bring all the science and all the research. You two have collaborated many a times, many a years, and I want to do a little bio intro for all of our listeners on who you are. It's short, I promise. All right, so first Clay. Clay Buck is a veteran nonprofit fundraising expert with over 30 years of experience specializing in donor-centered strategies, data-driven analytics, and ethical storytelling. Cherian Koshy helps mission-driven organizations harness behavioral science, neuroscience, and ethical AI to inspire authentic giving. His new best-selling book, Neurogiving, is a must for fundraisers everywhere, right? Let's hear it for Neurogiving. All right, we have a lot of fundraisers that tune in. We have a lot of fundraisers with us in the room here on the Elevate stage. Tell me, and I'm going to toss this to either of you, was there a moment that was your aha moment that you're fundraising? This is what I'm doing. This is what I want to be doing. What was your sort of inspiration to be moving into this work?
Wow, it's a good question. So for me, I didn't know that what I was doing was fundraising. So I was an actor, as I've said, and was working at a tiny little summer stock theater in the mountains of North Carolina. And I'd go up every summer and run the box office. And with every ticket sale, we'd ask, for a contribution. And we were measuring how, and I had no idea that that was a thing and a profession and a whatever, right? So then I moved to Chicago and discovered very quickly how much I hated auditioning. So needed a job and got placed in at a nonprofit writing grants and running events. So I don't know that there was an aha moment for me that this is what I want to do, as much as there was an aha moment of, oh, this is what I have been doing. I have skills at this. And they tell you in actor school, if you can find something you love more and do better, go do it. So I did.
I feel like this is a common story, the accidental fundraiser. Who here's an accidental fundraiser?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, you found your people, friend. You found your people.
Yeah.
Cherian, what about you?
So sort of an accidental fundraiser. I have basically not known anything but a nonprofit life my entire time. I had a friend in early college who was like, hey, I'm doing this part-time job and you should do it too. You're good at talking to people. I'm like, okay. And the job was to be a canvasser for Human Rights Campaign and the Sierra Club in Minneapolis. So in the middle of winter, in Minneapolis, you would walk up to people's doors and ask them, would you like to support one of these campaigns?
How have I known you this long and not known that?
Really?
I did not know that.
That's the one and only origin.
He's an onion.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Clay, meet Cherian.
I know,
nice
right?
to meet you.
Yeah.
We've known each other for
too long.
Yeah, for a real long time now. Anyway, so I did the job because it was the job. This is a job that I can do, and yeah, I'm okay at it. And I oddly got promoted and did more of that, which I don't put on my LinkedIn because I was really bad at it. And in terms of leading and whatnot, I got a lot of things wrong. But I think for me, the aha moment was I was doing the thing thinking I'm raising money and that's working. But then I realized it wasn't working the way that I thought it would work and how it should work. And so probably the aha moment for me was sitting across from a donor. Clay and I both did arts fundraising. And at one point I sat across the table from a donor and I was trying to persuade her to make a gift. This is why you should support this program. And she didn't really care about the nuts and bolts of it. She just said, I just want to be the person who does this. I just want to do this, and I don't really care about all of that. And she's like, if I had $1 million, that's what I would do. That's what I want to do. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm doing this wrong.
So how did it change?
So what I realized was I'm not there to pitch someone on what we're doing. I'm really trying to understand who you are and what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what do you care about? Why are you here? What are you becoming? And does that align with what we're doing over here? Or is there something else that we can point you to that's more aligned with what you care about?
That changes the door knocking.
A whole lot. Because it truly is like literally knocking on every single door, and it's the definition of spray and pray.
Yeah. Spray and pray. I'm just repeating it, just so we hear it again. I want to get a little love from all the Minneapolis people in the room, because you've probably all been fundraising from in the middle of winter. What? No, we got several.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of noise in and out of the sector right now about fundraising, dun, 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 the death of fundraising, the death of nonprofits, oh my God, the sector, all the things, right? So what are you most excited about in fundraising right now?
I'm excited about the potential of it. What I'm hopeful for, and what excites me, is a return to the humanity of fundraising.
Yeah.
And
Tell us more.
I think there's so much happening in our tech space, in the nonprofit tech space, and it's wonderful and it's great. And I have partnered with tech firms. I have worked for tech firms. I love technology, all of it. And the more we go into AI, the more we go into database, the more we understand data privacy and security, the more I think we are going to, and I think this is not just us, I think this is the world. The more we're going to understand that every data point, every technological advantage is there to serve how we understand the human on the other side.
Yeah.
And my hope is, and what excites me is, that drives a greater understanding and belief in and adherence to the, for lack of a better term, the psychology of what we do, the meaning of what we do. I believe that we are, well, it's not, I believe that data supports it. We, as a species, are desperate for connection now in a way we've never been before. I think fundraising is a way we can do it. It's like the who's down in Whoville are gonna have their Christmas without the roast beast, right? No matter what the Grinch does, people are gonna be generous and do what fulfills and activates them, no matter what institutionalized fundraising does. We can either get on board and become a part of that swell of humanity, or we can constrain it. And I feel like we're starting to bust out of that constraint.
I immediately go toward myself as a donor when you say that. And I think of the inverse of when I don't feel a sense of connection and belonging. Because during COVID, a lot of the relationships that I had, a lot of organizations I gave to really dropped away. And I stopped hearing from them, and I stopped, lunch meetings, people weren't gathering anymore. And I've noticed my donor behavior changing because of it.
I support, sorry to jump in, but I support regularly one organization, and I realize that I should be a little sorry about that and ashamed of that. But I do, because it's every year a dear friend does a birthday fundraiser around it. And you know exactly who I'm talking about.
It's right now.
And it is right now. And every year I give, haven't yet this year, sorry, Adam, I'm on it. But that organization never lets me forget them all year long. And that the chief fundraiser there, the CEO, I have met them both because they're at conferences and they went out of their way to come and speak to me. That organization and our friend Adam does such a great job year long of they're not in my town. I haven't been affected by the mission, not deeply personally, not where I live. They're in no way would I ever support this organization if it weren't for them. But they do such a great job about making me feel like a part of it all year long that I fall for what, like I'm professional, and I still fall for what they do.
Fall into what they do.
Fall into, yes. Fall head over heels, willingly taken along the journey that they take me on.
They fall. Yes. Cherian, what excites you about fundraising right now in the midst of all of this?
So we want to start with all of this, and whenever
Thank you. I was hoping you would.
There has been, for quite some time, a lot of bad news, or purported bad news. And whenever there is that bad news, my question, whether it's inside of the industry or outside of the industry, is who's served by the bad news? Who's winning if we buy into that narrative? And then I listen to the research that Clay provides. And the AP NORC study, the research from the University of Chicago, that says that most people consider themselves generous. And even Giving USA, which is not perfect data by any stretch of the imagination. I leave here tomorrow and go to the Giving USA Today board meeting. And so I love the organization. I think it does good work. It's not perfect data by any stretch of the imagination. $500-some billion in giving. There's a lot of giving that's happening. So the doom and gloom, who is that serving? And we just saw lots of things in the last several weeks of people who weren't impacted by certain current events or certain family events, things that happened in Minneapolis, in my hometown, things that happened to an actor's family, and people pouring out their love on people that they didn't know, and showing up in big, big ways. So when I think about hope and, to Clay's point, potential, it's two sides. One is we know all evidence indicates that people are generous and they want to give, and generosity will find a way.
Yeah.
The human instinct is to be generous. And rooms like this. You have people who are working for causes and are not relying on these old, dull tactics of just saying, like, who are the richest people we know in our community, and how do we get them to make a gift regardless of whether they care about what we do?
The number of committee meetings I've been in that starts with, can we call Oprah?
Now, see, the problem with that is that I worked for an organization that had Oprah as a donor.
Oh, well, that changes everything.
Was an alum. So when they said that, I was like, crap.
Yes, you can.
All right.
My first question always is, but do you know Oprah?
I don't. But they actually just posted a video on Instagram of Oprah talking to another one of our alums, and I was like, I feel for Nicole, the person that replaced me as the chief development officer. I'm like, that's got to be a terrible board meeting. But it's a reality of a lot of board meetings where they're like, who are the richest people in our community, in our network? How do we get to that person who can solve our financial problems, rather than asking the question of, who actually cares? And that's where I have hope and excitement, is that we're now at a place where these two things intersect, and that's really exciting.
I want to piggyback on that before I ask you another question, because I think that you're, here we go, jumping on. I think that you're positioning a challenge right now, right? Like, how do we create hope? There's natural generosity. Round of applause if you consider yourself a generous person. Right? I consider myself a generous person. I think that that's a very human instinct. But how do we, as the fundraiser on the opposite side of the table, harness that hope?
Stop pitching, start inviting.
Oh.
That's exactly right. I was going to make a joke about Clay's husband. Is this okay? So Mike teaches.
Consent is important,
Yeah.
people.
So, and I've met Mike several times. I think he'd be okay with this.
Oh, yeah.
So Mike's an English professor, and the things that we would write as fundraisers would not be okay with an English professor.
Never, ever have an English professor review an appeal. Don't do it.
So the example that I will give you is that I once wrote a line in an appeal, in an email or direct mail, I don't remember what, but said something like, you, as a generous person, your generosity doesn't go unnoticed. And an English professor would be like, no. And our comms person was like, that's a terrible sentence. And it is. It's not a good sentence in English. But my point is, you sort of just have to remind people of who they are. That's it. Just remind people of the things that they actually care about, because it's a noisy world.
Yep.
And there's so much bad news out there that our brains focus on the bad. We're inclined to remember bad things. And so, like, if you've ever had a bad consumer experience, like a cable company or something like that, that sticks in your brain. You're like, oh, I will never shop there. I will never eat there. Like, your brain highlights that. And so with all the things that are happening in your own life, your brain focuses on that. And you just need the nudge that's like, hey, buddy, you're actually generous.
This is the dichotomy, though, of the human experience, is because, yes, we remember the bad. That's how our brains are wired.
Sticks.
But we can also hold two thoughts at the same time. I remember the bad. That was a bad experience that sticks with me. I am mad about it, and I am also a good, kind, generous person. Even though I blew up on the phone and yelled and screamed and was totally nasty to that person, but I'm a good guy, right? The human experience.
Yeah, your fish person.
Yeah. I mean, we are walking around caring. You can think of yourself as a good, kind, caring, significant, important person and have imposter syndrome at the exact same time. Right.
Yeah.
We live in dichotomy. And in fundraising, we want it to be black and white, and it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a really good segue into the question I really want to dive into, which is about the biochemistry, neuroscience of it all. So we talked about oxytocin, we've talked about dopamine release, the importance of belonging really plays into generosity, but I'm wondering where fundraisers maybe accidentally work against that biology.
I mean, number one, easiest example, period, is acknowledgments and receipts.
Tell us more.
Boom. Well, if we think of fundraising, we're asking, yes, I want to stop pitching and start inviting. Okay, but we think of the ask, the solicitation, and we tell them, and there's reams of information on use the sad picture and use the hook and do this and that and the other. And all of those are true, and they all work, and they do great. And then we send thank you so much for your $25, your gift, blah, 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 right?
On behalf of
the board of directors. We in general, many of you do phenomenal, wonderful, beautiful thank you letters, right? But in general, thank you letters and receipts are pretty an afterthought. I would love I'm so sorry, but I'd love for us to get out of the world of the automated receipt. Because they often come with a template and we hit, and good, that's a thing I can check off the box. The acknowledgement, the stewardship, the response is as important, if not more important, than the actual solicitation. You've asked them to do a thing. They have done the thing.
Yep.
We're not thanking them for the gift. We're thanking them for doing the thing, for being who they are. I truly believe if we could strengthen that I call it post-gift cultivation.
Yep.
If we could strengthen that post-gift relationship, we could literally change the world.
I just want to double down on this. That wasn't going to be my answer, but I just want to double down on that because
Ditto.
it's so important. So here's what you need to hear and underline and star and circle on your notes of what Clay just said. When you thank someone for the dollar amount of their gift, you are literally thanking them for the least important part of what they did. the least important part of what they did. All of the things that went into them swiping the card, or in some cases writing the check, or whatever it was, all of the emotional energy, the memory, the identity, the belonging, all of the things that Clay talked about, all of that, all we saw was the dollar amount? No. That's what we are diminishing is all of the things that came into that moment. And when you say, thank you for your $25 in a templated form, it's no reason, it's no surprise why our retention rates are what they are, because people are hunting for who sees this that went into that dollar amount, all the things that went into that dollar amount.
And who sees them.
Yes.
Right. Top three reasons people give: they want to be seen.
Yep.
And you giving me a letter to give to my CPA for tax purposes, checking that off the list, doesn't in any way communicate that you've seen me.
Especially in March when I'm not doing taxes until April of next year.
Right.
Like I'm going to hang on to that. Like, yeah.
I want to actually share one of our donor stories. It's about me. I always go to me. When you tell a story, I'm like, yeah, as a donor,
It is all about you.
It's your show.
Well, welcome. Glad you're here.
Literally.
So as a donor, we were at a gala event, and our best friend had invited us, and our best friend is a caseworker at an organization. And the appeal speaker took the stage, and the appeal speaker had a moment where they got really choked up and nervous. And without pause, our best friend jumped on stage and held her hand. It was a beautiful moment. It was very emotional. And when the paddle started to go up, this paddle raised at a level that I was like, do we have that money? As Kristin's there like, yes, I'm in.
The punchline is no.
We have credit cards, was her response. And I was like, okay, cool. But that development director came over to us and said, oh my gosh, it's nice to see and or meet you again. And I was like, what? That was weird. And then I immediately got the form letter. And I was like, oh, they don't understand that we gave because of the person that was sitting there. And then 3 days later, that person called and said, what did you two do? And said, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is incredible. And that made us a donor forever. The second that we got the personal connection from someone that we loved and knew, and it was felt and connected. And I always translate that into so many of our organizations. When we're planning events, we go through and it's a list of 180 names, right? That I always ask our board members and our staff members, do you know any of these donors personally? And give them an extra thank you, because I've gotten calls from organizations where I worked on the event and I donated, and when the board member calls and knows, thank you for all the hard work you put into this event, and then thank you for your donation, I'm like, I'm in forever.
Can we just acknowledge, though, having been in that seat so many times, as an annual fund director, as a database admin, as a special events director, how hard it is.
Yes.
That's right.
Because I feel this room, and I feel a good 20%, 30% of them going, I don't have time.
Totally.
And it's 100% true, and it's 100% valid, and I get it, and I support it, and I believe it, and your leadership doesn't give you time.
Correct.
And that's the elephant in the room, to be perfectly honest. I personally want to encourage anybody in that position to do it dadgum anyway, right? Because it will pay dividends regardless of whether or not your leadership. Write your thank you letters. I think Stephen Screen says this all the time. Write your thank you letters at the same time you're writing your appeal, right? Write your thank you letter first before you write your appeal or your event script or whatever. What is it that you are thanking them for first? Begin with gratitude and then do it later. Make the time and it will. Because I also promise you, the more you practice gratitude, this isn't just Clay saying, hey, this is a nice thing to do. This is little brain chemistry, right? The more you practice gratitude, the more it's going to feed your brain, the more it's going to make you feel better. And that's just going to pay forward constantly. It's hard. It's hard. We were just talking about journaling. Like, I want to be the kind of person who journals, but I am not that person, right? But if I can be the person that can take an hour and write a thank you letter first and start with gratitude, maybe that can start something down the line. I just really do want to hold space for how hard that process and system can be.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I mean, you're right, because when I worked with Better Fundraising, they made me do that. So I know that to be true. But the reality is that there's only a fixed number of things that could possibly happen in an event. So you can sort of get a lot of this written in advance and then do the personalization piece quickly after the event. So there's, an opportunity to do that. But I forgot, my answer is actually different than what Clay did.
We're coming full circle now.
Are we still answering question 1?
Yeah, no. The answer that I wanted to provide around the neurochemicals, the dopamine, the oxytocin, and what do we sometimes do to get in our own way, is we tend to believe that information creates meaning and that urgency on our part drives decision-making on the donor's part.
Right.
Tell us what really drives that.
Well, you'll have to wait until tomorrow for that. But in most instances, our default assumption, whether it's in general fundraising, but particularly at an event, we feel like we need to educate and inform, and if there's hesitation, we double down on the wrong things. We double down on, you need more information to understand why this is valuable. And that's the wrong inclination. And the corollary to that is, you need to know how urgent this thing is on our part. If you don't do this, services won't be available, this building won't get built, those types of things. But urgency on our part doesn't translate to urgency on the part of the donor. And particularly when everything is urgent, nothing is meaningful.
That's right. Yeah. Which is why I have rules about how many exclamation points.
Tell us more.
Well, because if you use them everywhere, it doesn't matter.
True.
What was it?
Oh, you had a that's right from the audience.
It is right. I invite you all to come along.
Welcome to Kristin's TED Talk.
Could be. So we're sitting here at Elevate, specifically addressing fundraising events. We have a long, storied history of fundraising events capitalizing on the wrong things. They have a history of being social capital for people. Mm-hmm. They have a history of exclusivity, not the right people in the room, how we would now define the right are people in the room, right? They were a lot of money, a notable speaker, a lot of glad handing, photo ops, all the things, right? CB scene. I hope we're all changing that dynamic and continuing to evolve what those look like. How do you see events as part of the sector now? Both how they are and what their opportunity is.
This is not the answer that you want, because I'm thinking of the previous discussions and what gives us hope and what we are excited about. I'm becoming more and more convinced that the single greatest challenge facing our profession right now is exactly what we referenced earlier, which is leadership pushing us into transactional wealth-based fundraising.
Yep.
And I think we get that pressure the most at events, because it's get the wealthy people in the room. I mean, the phrase I hate the most in fundraising is get them drunk and get them giving. Yeah. Well, there's so much wrong with that phrase. Yeah. Just the from someone who does not drink, right? Just that is enough that it sets my back teeth on edge. My biggest question is, how do we, and I don't know the answer to this and I wish I did, how do we change our leadership's perspective on this for events and on this for direct mail appeals, for major gift, for all of it, that the evolution we have to take is fundraising has to be inclusive. What we need in events is events that are open to everybody and include everybody as part of them. I mean, there are a number that specifically just. I mean, some of the events that serve certain beneficiaries, when they're literally doing the thing at the event that the beneficiary cannot do, offends me to my core.
Sure.
Right? And then there's the ethics of it, right? Is this money that's coming in that then is being used for good? Like, does it matter because it's going to something good? But I would love for us as a profession to be able to champion that stronger and loudly, that we're evolving to this point, because it's not just events, Kristin, that you're referring to. It's everything. We focus our direct mail appeals on those with the highest capacity rating. We focus our grants on those with the highest level of potential gift. We tend to focus our. And it's that dichotomy again of this is a business about raising money. There is a revenue goal to hit, but I believe we can also do it while being fair and inclusive and seeing the world as it is now.
Yeah.
And I think we're going through some growth pangs of seeing of the world as it is now and what it's becoming, and we haven't quite caught up to it yet.
I was just going to say, I think this is where community-centric events need to be a big part of the conversation. So for our audience that's listening to this, we're recording this on March 3rd. The March 4th episode is about community-centric events because it is such an important aspect. Nell's with us today. Nell's our guest on that podcast. All about designing for inclusivity of our entire community, not just the highest wealth donors.
So I'm going to talk about, I'm just going to keep doing this and talk about what Clay talked about and then maybe get to my answer. The challenge with leadership is the involvement of sort of this business capitalist mindset around how to most efficiently arrive at a quote unquote solution, right? And so the idea of how do we solve this problem is to have the fewest number of sales to achieve the goal. We don't want to deal with 400 customers. We want to deal with 40 or 4 and solve our problem that way. And so if we can achieve the quote unquote goal, and the goal is how much money we're raising with fewer people, then that drives all kinds of other efficiencies. We need fewer events. We need fewer major gift officers. We need fewer asks. We need all these fewer things in order to do the things that we want to accomplish. And that allows us to obtain scale and efficiencies. The problem is that model doesn't work in nonprofits, in most nonprofits. And so I'm not going to go into that now, but I think what's important as you carry this back to your leadership is to take the science that's in Clay's presentation and all of these presentations and bring them back, and to talk about why we're not talking about buying a widget. We're not talking about buying an iPhone or buying something that, a consumer would buy. There's a very different logic in a human brain around buying a thing versus giving to something that has relationship to who they are. Ultimately, if I'm making a decision between the iPhone, whatever, where I'm an Android person, I don't even know, whatever, but like iPhone, whatever, and whatever.
Me too.
Great, fantastic. That's not a calculation of who I am deep down in my person. It's a calculation. It's a cost-benefit analysis.
Yep.
So now let me bring this back to events. When we have 200 different auction items.
No. Exactly. Ugh.
Literal groans throughout the audience.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
yes.
Yeah, no one's like, that sounds like a good idea. You are transitioning someone to a buyer, and they're evaluative mindset is, how much does that thing cost? What is the value of that thing? Not how am I supporting the mission? And as these two talked about before, the mission relationship to that package has to be evident. Otherwise, it's like, and this is my transition. The fancy gala, the fancy event, the named speaker, the being in a room with those types of people, in this day and age, nonprofits don't have a monopoly on that. You can do that anywhere. And everyone knows that. So they can be a buyer of that experience without having to go to a rubber chicken dinner. So the competition has shifted dramatically, and they get to be, quote unquote, buyers of an experience with fill-in-the-blank celebrity, and probably get to meet them and have their, one-on-one time or experience with that person or whatever in a much more nuanced way that they could do if they wanted to have that. So what are we offering them on our side? What are we doing over here? Are we just running essentially the same event that a Chamber of Commerce might run, that's a for-profit event, or some other business event would run? I hope not. Because if that's the case, what are we doing here? And I think that's the risk with this fancy dinner model. Is it used to be the domain of, okay, nonprofits, you do that version, for-profits, we're going to do this other thing, and now that line is completely blurred.
That's right.
I also think that the generational shifts in giving is blurring even more and making it that the fancy gala is not the only event we should be considering. The bringing people together and volunteering can be just as impactful.
Yeah. My mother, bless her, collected her wedding silver her entire life, so enough that she would have two sets, one for my sister, one for me. I have both sets. My sister didn't want it. I don't want it anymore because who wants to polish silver? And I said to my nieces, it's time for you all. And they both, younger millennials, no. I can go to Target and buy a new silverware. What do I want this for? And my point is exactly.
Yeah.
I am not a huge believer in a lot of the generational stereotypes, but I do think younger generations are coming in and saying, now this is how we're going to do generosity.
Yep.
Right? We're not interested in the tux. We're not interested. We have done that. Right? We're interested in getting our hands dirty. We're interested in learning more about it. We're either going to cling to the way that we have always done things, or we're going to listen to this generation as they're coming in and listening to this evolution. Because I'll tell you, I don't want to anymore. Right?
Yeah.
So how are we going to respond to that? I think it's a great point.
Yep.
Well, the response that we've seen lately has been a lot around creativity and listening to our donors and addressing what our donors are most interested in. And one example of that, one of the organizations that was mentioned earlier who's here today is Council for the Homeless. They are an advocacy organization that connects lots of housing organizations. And one of the things that they identified with bringing people together is we're bringing people together because we want them to understand that they can be part of the solution. And so it no longer was a seated dinner gala. It was, we're going to actually come into a learning environment.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a paddle raise and raise money too.
I am finding with a lot of social service organizations, particularly homeless organizations, the appeals that I do and the case that I write, stories that I tell about the program staff are engaging donors in a very different and very powerful way, especially with something like homelessness, where donors are saying, look, we've been giving to this forever, and why is the problem still increasing, right? And so we start to tell the story of the program person that goes out every day right? This woman that has been working with us for 10 years because she was a beneficiary and now she runs this part of the program. And donors are connecting to that person that they're working with. This is, when you give, your gift is going out with her. The two of you are doing the work for them. And we start to build those connections across the board. I think that's where donors are starting to come to, because I want to balance that. What is it that donors want? It's not, yes, but this is where we can get dangerous. Is it's not what donors want. It's what we are doing together and what we're bringing them into being a part of. That's what donors want. Yeah. They want to be a part of this.
That's right.
Amen. I agree 100%.
And second of the top 3 reasons that people give. They want to be a part of something.
And the whole it's a nice dinner. Come on. I mean, really?
I mean, we love our caterers,
yes,
but
they are.
But that's not the driver.
Right, it's not the driver. And if we're talking about butts in seats, which is another one of these we should get rid of this. Oh. But most of the time we're how many people can we fit in the room, which I think is absurd as a concept. If I'm going to have a dinner party at my house, I'm not how many people can I fit, but who are the right people to be around the table?
That's right.
That's a separate issue. But if it's not an exceptional meal of, Michelin star, whatever, it's not a driver. And if it's a speaker, let me be very clear, the only speakers that are actually going to drive butts and seats are athletes, astronauts, and A-list celebrities, which we're not going to get. Mm-hmm. So everybody else is someone that any one of our donors can get access to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter.
One of the best events I ever did was for a youth serving organization, and we created a day in the program. So all of our food was kids' food. It was chicken nuggets. It was it was elevated, but it was chicken nuggets. Yeah. It was peanut butter and jelly. It was pizza, done very nicely. And we encouraged everybody to wear their sneakers. And when they came in the door, we had the basketball hoops and all the different games. I mean, you've never seen a group of 500 adults turn into idiots so quickly, and it was beautiful. I mean, they just had a blast. And they're we're like ketchup and chicken nuggets at dinner, and they had a blast because we didn't expect anything of them. It was just come and have fun, right?
You invited them in.
And I think we can we all relax a little bit? We've all gotten so serious about everything,
Well, you make them a part of the mission.
Yeah.
And to Cherian's point earlier, it's not logical. Giving is not a logical thing.
No.
I go out and I work, right? I give up my time away from my family, away from things that I want to do. I don't get to take a nap because I'm going out to do this work that really I don't want to do, and I get paid for it. And then I take some of that money and I give it away and get nothing in return. There is no logic in that. It is illogical, right? So let's embrace the silliness and the illogic of it. And I think we've lost sight of, if we ever had it, because we focus so much on need and we focus so much on the sad and we focus so much on the hardship that we've lost sight that generosity is actually an act of joy.
Yep.
Fundraising is about facilitating joy and identity. And can we find some of that back while also honoring the challenges and the problems that we're solving? Bring the donors in through joy to solve these deep problems of the world.
Well, we ask all of our guests to step into the fundraising elevator, and in our last moment, do you have one piece of wisdom? Clay, I feel like you just dropped a beautiful piece of wisdom for us all. Find the joy.
You cannot say what I said, Cherian. You have to come up with your own.
So, Cherian, one piece of wisdom you would leave for folks as you're stepping out of the elevator?
I can't do ditto?
Ditto.
All right. What I would say is that I know that it's hard to take in all of this information, all of these things, and then try to make sense of it all, and then try to implement it all. What I would humbly recommend is that there's so much that's possible out there. Your goal is not to try and upend everything. Your goal is not to take everything and dump it and say, I'm doing it wrong. I've been there, I've done that, and been like, oh, I'm doing it all wrong, and I need to stop doing what I'm doing and try it all new and different. The experience that I've had that I would share with you, I don't know if this is wisdom, is that you're doing good work. You're gonna be okay. And there are things that you can do, even one thing that you grab out of this and maybe share it with your team or your leadership, and just work towards the goals that you know that you have, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Well, let's have a big round of applause for our guests, Clay and Cherian. Thank you both for joining us. We want to also make sure to thank our podcast sponsors. The podcast is only possible because of Bloomerang, AV Department, and Feather. Thank you all for your support. And we thank you all for being a part of our live audience here at Elevate.
Thank you.
The Fundraising Elevator is produced by Swaim Strategies at the studios of the AV Department. The program is produced and directed by Steve Osborne, with audio engineering and original music by Dwayne Anderson and Heidi Christensen. Video production by John Collier. Graphic design by Pendulum Creative Group. And voiceover by Josh Boykin.
Hey y'all, it's Kristin. Before we leave, I want to ask for your help to make the podcast grow. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please like, follow, and subscribe to the Fundraising Elevator. And if you're getting a lot out of the show, share it with a friend. Leave us a review. These things help make sure that the podcast continues heading up. Thanks so much for being here and tuning in.
Are you ready to engage supporters and grow your base with your own podcast? Then let us introduce you to our partners at the AV Department in Portland, Oregon. In addition to delivering exceptional live event audiovisual production and videography, they also have a top-tier production studio and an expert team ready to take your content ideas to the next level. Contact the AV Department to schedule a consultation and start bringing your podcast vision to life.
Change. It doesn't happen on its own. It happens on purpose. Thanks to nonprofits that believe a brighter future is not just possible, but needed and deserved, and that connect people to causes and turn moments of generosity into movements. That's why Bloomerang is built for purpose, to raise the bar on what's possible and help every act of giving lead to more. Because when the bottom line is a better world, no goal is too lofty. Bloomerang, built for purpose.
Ready to take your fundraising to the next level? Need to get unstuck in your event planning? Now's your chance to connect directly with the experts behind the Fundraising Elevator. Book a one-on-one consulting session with Sam for strategic planning and fundraising strategy, with Kristin for your programming and storytelling, or Mary for your registration and data tools. They're here to provide you personalized answers to all your event questions. Don't wait. Raise more at your next fundraising event. Book your session today at swaimstrategies.com. You can also find the link in our show notes.